Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Garamba. How y'all doing today? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Kyle bug that had happened recently and the things that it exposed that are, in my opinion, massive problems with the current game design and the current design philosophy of void intercept battles in the first Descendant. Let's get into it. So, if you've been living under a rock with the current news and what's been going on in the first Ascendant, recently Kyle was broken. He was completely bugged out, and because of that, he was actually one-shotting bosses. Now, this had a negative impact, in my opinion, on the game. And the reason for that is because, or at least what was going on, where people were queuing into gluttony matches or gluttony void intercept battle, and when people did not see that they had a Kyle on their team, they would immediately leave the match. Now, I know what you're thinking. You are thinking,
Oh, Garrett, what does this have to do with a problem with the game and blah, 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 blah?
let me tell you, little Timmy. Okay, let me tell you. The reason why this is such exposes a problem with the first Ascendant and the way void intercept battles are designed is that, in my opinion, I feel like void intercept battles are way overtuned. More specifically, gluttony. I think gluttony is just way too overtuned in my opinion, but also I think there is a complete problem with the design philosophy around void intercept battles. So currently right now, as of 1 month after the game has come out, the way the game teaches you mechanics is the game doesn't teach you mechanics at all. And I think this is a massive problem because once you get to void intercept battles that actually require knowledge and mechanics to, achieve and to beat, this can really catch a lot of people off guard, and it can also lead to a lot of problems that we have currently right now in the game, where people are like hard stuck Frostwalker, hard stuck Molten Fortress. If you're hard stuck Molten Fortress, maybe they can't beat Gluttony, and that's because these bosses have mechanics that are not easily explainable to players, who have never done these fights before. So people just, and let's be real here, a lot of people just want to go into the void intercept battle and just play the game. They don't want to have to, think about mechanics that, or anything like that. And to be fair to them, the game hasn't done a good job at teaching mechanics. So one game I think does a really good job at teaching players mechanics is actually Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMORPG. When you first step forth in Eorzea, the game will actually slowly teach you different mechanics that you will then become accustomed to at endgame. Things like stack up mechanics, stay out of the AoE, or hey, the boss is casting a giant circle, get out of it, or teaching you the whole hey, soon as the attack has gone off, or the circle, the AoE has gone off, you can actually step in back into the ring and not take any damage, and it actually uses this for mechanics in the game. And so the first Ascendant, actually what it does is that pretty much all of the void intercept battles are just DPS checks. They are checks to see if you've been upgrading your modules, if you've been upgrading your weapons, if you've been doing blah blah bleed blue. You get the picture. And this is really bad. This is actually not very good game design because it leads the problem of you are teaching players to be, I don't want to say incompetent, but you are teaching players, at the very least, you are not preparing players for fights like Hangman, Frostwalker, maybe even to some extent Obstructor, Molten Fortress, Gluttony. There's no progressive difficulty in the game. The game is teaching you to basically play like a brain dead idiot, and then throws like a curveball where it's like, oh hey, here's a boss with actual mechanics. Complete it. It's like, wait, what? Okay. What? And this issue is actually, in my opinion, further exaggerated because I think we all know that the first Ascendant is a really grindy game. And so when you add let's be real here, a level of RNG just to the matchmaking to see if you'll actually complete the void intercept battle, and then you have a random chance at getting the item that you need, this creates a lot of frustration, and in my opinion, it might not be a problem now, but it's going to lead to a lot of friction between the player base and a lot of toxicity, and this is something I simply just don't want to see in the game. Now, okay, So I know some of you still aren't picking up what I'm putting down. The Kyle situation showed off that players are not having fun with these void intercept battles. They just want to get them done and over with so that they can get the items that they want. They don't want to sit there, wipe for 5 runs, and then finally get the RNG drop of good teammates who understand the mechanics that they can actually try and get the item that they want, only to not get it, and then go back to, doing that RNG, getting good teammates, rinse and repeat. This is a huge, massive problem with the game and the current design philosophy around void intercept battles. Okay, Garen, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but what can the developers do to rectify this problem? Well, look towards Final Fantasy XIV. Completely redesign not every single void intercept battle. I think there definitely should be void intercept battles that are DPS checks to make sure that players are modding correctly, and this kind of makes players like, okay, maybe I need more damage, or I need to start experimenting to try and get more damage out of my builds. But what they really need to do is they really need to go back to the drawing board with void intercept battles, and they need to kind of have mechanics very similar to Final Fantasy XIV, where you have like stack up mechanics. You have, oh hey, avoid the AoE, which we kind of already have. And the game needs to progressively teach players these mechanics that are void intercept battle wide, that helps the player understand, okay, I've seen this before. And maybe you can put a little spice to it, or a little bit of a twist to it, very similar to Final Fantasy XIV, where players still recognize what's going on, but it's all about understanding when it's going on and executing it properly so that, things, you don't take a whole bunch of damage. You get the point of what I'm trying to say. Now, another issue is definitely difficulty. Difficulty is something that I have had a problem with void intercept battles. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, get good. Oh, communicate, blah, blah, bleep, blue. I've heard it all. And first of all, when it comes to the get good, comment, you can't really get good in a scenario where you're relying on 3 other people to, not fuck up the mechanics or to do stuff like that. Like I said before, this is going to create a lot of friction with the player base. Just as an example, I recently was doing a dungeon so I could farm the ultimate Volby parts, and I actually had a player that was being very toxic towards a Volby. Now, granted, the Volby was actually like fucking up, where we were in that like ring where all players have to be present in order to get progress, but the Volby kept stepping outside of the ring and making it so that we were losing progress, only for the Volby to actually, like, we were literally had a sliver of the bar, and the Volby steps out and we actually fail the mission, and the bunny player was just completely harassing and saying just super toxic things. Now, don't get me wrong, the Volby player definitely shouldn't have done that, but the other player shouldn't have been so toxic. It's really not that big of a deal, but you see what I mean when it comes to, having these things where if one player fucks up, everybody fucks up, and this leads towards toxicity and friction within the player base. This is something, and this is a huge issue with void intercept battles because of the way they're designed. Having things like, players getting one-shotted even though they're running max resistance just doesn't make any sense. Having hard auto-locking attacks that do a shit ton of fucking damage. A good example of this is the Pyromaniac Fireball that shoots like homing fireballs that no matter what you do, they will hit you if you are kind of like in an open space and you can't take cover. Having things like these in the game is just not good for the long-term health of the game. It's going to lead to a lot of players quitting the game. It's going to lead to a lot of friction in the player base and a lot of toxicity, because you're creating a lot of animosity between the player bases where, one person might know what they're doing, but you have someone who's doing, gluttony or Frostwalker for the first time and they don't understand what's going on. And they end up failing, and then you have someone who's just trying to farm this motherfucker to get an item, and then he proceeds to harass someone else. Sometimes, yes, we have to blame the individuals, but we also have to look at the systems that are being implemented into the game. We have to look at the things that are being implemented into the game, and we need and the developers need to figure out how can we solve the root of the problem. And I feel like the root of the problem, in my opinion, is the way these fights are designed, is the frustration and the friction that they create. And I think there definitely needs to be just a complete overall redesign of how Void Intercept battles play, how they teach players mechanics, and all of that jazz. So that's all I have to say for this video. I hope this video was concisive. I actually wrote down a script, but I think I'm pretty sure like 90% I was actually slightly tipsy when I wrote this script. So hopefully this went a lot better, and there was also a lot of improvisation because I'm not very good at reading things and talking at the same time. So hopefully this video turned out well, but that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys are getting the drops you want, and I hope your grinds are going well. I actually recently just got my last piece for Ultimate Volby, so I'll be finishing her up today, and I'll be making a video on her because I've never actually played Volby before. But that's all I have to say. With that being said, my name is Garen Belmont, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.